各位觀眾大家好，歡迎收睇26分鐘見證實錄。溫哥華華埠有100年歷史嘅傳統中文學校文強學校，喺今年嘅4月份入圍加拿大國家信託基金會拯救歷史文化遺址比賽嘅最後12強。而呢一座嘅建築物亦都被加拿大國家公園局認定為國家歷史遺址。文強學校由皇崗下堂，即係現時嘅加拿大皇氏宗親總會創辦，並且喺1925年正式開學。究竟呢一座建築物承載住啲乜嘢嘅歷史故事？呢100多年間經歷咗啲乜嘢嘅變遷呢？我哋一齊去睇睇。
文強咧就係皇氏宗親總會，即係舊時皇崗下總堂辦㗎啦嘛。
1925年成立嘅時候咧，係整個即係話華人喺加拿大最艱苦嘅一個歲月，因為我哋知道即係1923年就係排華法案嘅推出，咁25年嘅時候就係大家都好多即係話中國人都嚟唔到，好多親戚朋友家庭團聚都成問題，咁就係喺加拿大咧就好多華人都受到咗歧視。
I think because of the racism, the generation earlier than me, before the start of World War II, I think the idea was you would be introduced into a bit of Chinese school. And then if they thought that your future, since you couldn't enter any of the professions, that if you wanted, for example, to study medicine or law, and to be a professional, you would have to go back to the old country. So the whole idea was that this would introduce you and you would go back to the old country in 1930. And a number of them did. They went back in 1930 before World War II in Shanghai.
後來咧就要梗係要立案咧，就中國政府咧就要3間學校，喺呢個加西方面，一間文強，一間華僑公立校，一間Victoria華僑公立校，就係得中央政府，即係國民政府咧，教育部咧，即係僑委會啦，就津貼。
It would take 2 years in Canada to be equivalent to 1 year elementary school. So in order to graduate from elementary school, where in China it would be 5 years, it would take 10.
因為佢準備將來太平之後咧，即係中國冇事嗰個翻去中國，唔響市居留耐咯咁但係你翻去中國，你一定要識話識文字係咁樣，所以送啲仔女嚟呢啲華僑學校，即係嚟文教學校讀書
咁呢啲好似就係當年嘅民國政府嘅教育部長陳立夫俾我哋一個獎狀。最高嘅時候咧，都有幾百人一齊喺嗰個同期讀書嘅。咁我哋開始嘅時候都係有一個課室，就都係即係每個週，即係話個 weekday 咧，就係從星期一到星期五咧，下晝4點到6點鐘，係一個 after school 咁嘅形式。咁喺度會教中文啦，包括有時都會教一啲嗰個數學物理嗰啲課程嘅。咁就到47年之後咧，就發展成4個課室，咁就慢慢去擴大。到最後咧，就係變咗喺唐人街入邊咧，係規模比較大嘅一個中文學校。咁我哋嘅畢業生咧，包括係有嗰個我哋華人嘅第一個嘅最高大法官啦，亦都係 BC 省在位最長嘅法官呢個 Randall Wong 黃星橋，佢就喺我哋呢個文強學校畢業嘅。
My first memory is that, of course, I started at the age of 5, and that meant I had to come down here between the hours of 4 p.m. to 6 p.m., 2 hours. This is where the assembly would be. The students would come in and they will all sit here, and we would have some of the principal would be up in the front here, and people, and they would give some speeches up here. And this was the office of the administrators. They had the business office, and the students would bring the monthly tuition, and it was $2.50. Every student came with the cash, and the secretary there would give you a receipt that you took home to your parents. $2.50. I think that I recall as a youngster, we were primarily in this room, not that one back there. I think they had more of the older students, but this was the younger students were here, and they had desks and chairs and so forth. They gave you pages and what we call japji. They had the characters, and you would trace it, and follow the strokes. That's how you learn to write it. So that picture that was taken for the newspaper shows me doing it when I was 6. I think the teachers basically taught us to work hard, and part of the Chinese custom to do the best you can. So they always they were kind to us, and they taught us about Chinese culture. And primarily, what they taught us through the years was about Chinese history, and the fact that China, pre-18th and 19th century, was a world center, and it was known as the Middle Kingdom, and it was highly respected, and they had a lot of discoveries, and also a lot of inventions. So basically, they tried to make us proud of our heritage. Across here, and I already showed you the picture of, I think principal. That since basically it is to be civil and to understand other people's positions, and following the Confucian ethic is to behave in an honorable manner. And I think it's very much like what the British had to say, what do you look for in a judge? And they said, well, above all, he should be a gentleman. And if he happens to know a little law, so much the better. If the culture is to work hard and do the best you can, I was fortunate to be in a position when the opportunities arose. So I became the trailblazer. However, that carried a responsibility. If I am the first, I have to project that Asians are capable of doing work, and also that meant that I had a responsibility to set an example and to mentor and teach the up-and-coming ones who followed me, because nurturing the young and mentoring them to be able to follow the opportunity that was available to me, when all is said and done, it appears to be our only keys to immortality. These pictures here were former students of Munkyang when they graduated from university. There are a couple of them, like there is Jack Wong, that fellow there. He graduated in engineering, and I think that's Paul Wong. He was in aerospace, and Jack had served in World War II, and of course, when they were demobilized at the war's end, those who had served in armed forces were given free university education. So he took advantage of it and got an engineering degree, but because of the racism and discrimination, he couldn't find an engineering job. So he had to go back to the family tailoring business. When I think about it, all of these teachers, I think, were dedicated in the teachings. And as a matter of fact, the principal Wang Kongfao, there's a story that I should also tell you. I didn't find out about it until later, but one of the early students under Wang Kongfao, Hao Jiang, was Hin Lu. Hin Lu was a very bright student, and he needed some money to complete his education, and the Hao Jiang Wang Kongfao realized that Hin was very talented, so he advanced him some money to complete his studies. Hin Lu later on attended university at Massachusetts Institute of Technology and later worked for Atomic Energy in Ottawa. He attained his doctorate, but he remembered the gift or the loan given by Wang Kongfao, the Hao Jiang. And also, annually, we would, in late spring, the whole school would go on a school picnic at Stanley Park over by Lumberman's Arch. And it was an annual affair, and all the families would be invited, and we would have a picnic there. The children that I went to school with at Mankyang, we all became good friends because we had common interests, we had similar problems, and we looked after each other. And then after we went off to university, I met up with a lot of them again, and we renewed our friendships socially with the Chinese Varsity Club out at UBC with the Chinese students. And they either went to Mankyang, which is the Wangs. There was also the Daigong, which was the Freemasons, and Hao, which was at the Nationalist Party's headquarters above the drugstore at Gore and Pender. So those were the various Chinese schools. But so we had similar backgrounds. So we renewed our friendship out at university. And now, periodically, we do have reunions of students of my generation. I am now 83 years old, so you know, there are some of us still around, and whenever we get together, we reminisce about our days in Chinese school and also at the university. Was this set off on an alarm?
No, it's just not, there's not a lot of room out here. So
No, they can just see. The structure wasn't there before.
So it was in the alley?
It was just off the alley there, at the foot of the, and there was he had a barbecue shack, and the children would go down the fire escape here and go down the stairs to the bottom. Some of them actually, there's a ladder from here, a fire escape that would take it up on the roof, and some of the children would even go on top of the roof during recess. That was something that the children enjoyed, and of course, if you climb up on the roof, you have a fantastic view of the city.
經歷100年嘅歷史變遷，時至今日，文強學校又將會點樣繼續肩負起傳承中華文化嘅重任呢？我哋下一節翻嚟再睇。歡迎翻嚟節目時間。自2016年以嚟啊，文強學校同卑詩大學粵語項目同埋清心在唐人街合作，開設針對成人學習嘅生活粵語課程。整個項目係點樣繼續將中華文化喺家國發揚光大呢？
Yes, and this was a recreation of an old picture of Wong Kung Fao.
我名係黃麗珍. My name is Ainsley Wong. I was born in Vancouver. I'm a third-generation Canadian, and I didn't know Cantonese until I took the class, because I grew up knowing a mixture of Hoi Pinghua and Yin Pinghua, but no Cantonese. When the school opened with the adult program, I was in the first class.
咁同埋佢哋教學方法咧特別嘅形式就係唔似我哋喺大學有考試有功課，咁喺嗰度學習咧就係第一個鐘頭教咗佢哋啲基本嘅語言，可能一啲基本嘅詞彙啊，一啲嘅句型之後咧，第二個鐘頭咧我哋會落去，譬如社區去啲街市啊，去鋪頭啊，或者同當地嘅一啲嘅喺唐人街裏面咧生活嘅人士啦，可能一啲長者啊，去圖書館啊咁樣同佢哋交流傾偈，同學就會覺得啱啱學完即刻可以用。咁當然啦，唔會話一下子就流利，但係我覺得呢個係一個都俾佢哋加強一個意識，就係話，只要我肯去學，肯去試咧，呢個語言咧就可以去被利用，亦都可以咧去促進呢個保育同埋經濟嘅價值咯。
I think that knowing some more of the Cantonese language is helped me maybe understand some of the things that I had heard and phrases that I had heard or words or traditions that I didn't really understand the meaning of before. Of course, the Cantonese language is complicated, and there's so many things that are expressions based on an idea or something that sounds like something else. Like one of the phrases that I would always hear if somebody was, a child was wanting, food. I guess in the village dialect, my grandmother would say, "You're being like gyang tek," like you want to eat something, and then I didn't know that the gyang was the throat. So things like that I didn't understand.
And now you are understanding.
It's helping to understand. The pieces are coming together. A lot of people say that my grandparents have all passed away now, that they would have been really proud of the effort that I'm making. I'm continuing to learn more Cantonese every year.
好似 Ainsley 咁樣嘅土生華人後代，佔咗文強學校成人粵語興趣班嘅大部分學生比例。
即係大個咗開始做工啦，同埋畢咗業就覺得我想翻嚟了解下我自己嘅中國文化。我自己嘅屋企啊，同埋我哋啲華僑嘅歷史，咁就所以開始就再接觸下唐人街同埋我哋黃氏宗親會啦，咁就開始再講翻啦。但係嚟到之後就發覺，我講嘅個語言已經好似冇我以前講得咁順啦，咁就所以就開始就慢慢要練習啦，就覺得要練習就開始落嚟呢啲堂所啊，同埋去學校去中文學校嚟學習我哋個語言咯。
而參加文強學校成人粵語項目嘅學生，亦都不乏本地其他族裔人士。
Well, I think that Chinatown is such a historic neighborhood in the city of Vancouver, and there's such a lot of rich, deep heritage and history there. And so I really like the idea that you would be immersed learning Chinese in the neighborhood itself. And the course offered, I think, a balance of instruction in the classroom, which is in one of the heritage historic buildings. So you had the opportunity to really experience and live and feel that history, but also the chance to go out in the neighborhood and to practice some of what you learned each day for the lesson. I find even if you have a few phrases, you're able to say hello or ask people how they're doing or thank people for something. I think people really respond to that. They appreciate you making an effort because I think it shows that there's a genuine interest in the culture.
Sarah 表示學習中文令到自己受益良多。
I grew up in North Vancouver, and my family moved here when I was young from England. And one of my favorite things to do on weekends when I was in high school was to take the bus and travel to Chinatown and just spend time exploring and spending an afternoon on a Saturday exploring a lot of the small shops, which were, I thought, fascinating and really enjoyed just being around the sights and the sounds and the culture of Chinatown. And so I've always had that interest. And my husband, his first language is Cantonese. And so selfishly, it would be nice to communicate a little bit. And then also being a city councillor, we have such a strong Chinese community in the city of Vancouver. And so we're out in the community and connecting with people all the time. So I think it's a nice opportunity to learn a bit more about the language and also the culture.
從1925年文強學校正式開辦，華裔喺本地為咗生存而努力傳承華語。呢一種努力持續咗整整1個世紀。現時中文唔單止係華裔社群嘅語言，更加被嚟自各個族裔嘅人士所學習同埋使用，咁顯示咗其廣泛嘅影響力。
領帶
Yeah.文彊Jack 白明威係本地一間服裝店嘅老闆，而佢亦都十分熱衷於學習中文。
有很多客人进到店里，然后他们不会英文，所以我需要跟他们讲中文，然后他们很高兴能够找到一个本地人，可以跟他们用他們自己的母語跟他們解釋這些材料啊、品牌、鋼琴等等。
白明威表示，自己1996年開始學中文，佢現時11歲嘅女兒亦都學緊中文。佢體會到語言絕對係深入研究文化嘅重要工具。
這裡長大的這個本地人，在想到亞洲人的時候，都是mixed up。當時我不知道這個中國、台灣、日本、韓國有什麼差別，只知道有亞洲人這個事情，然後那些細節不太清楚。但是通過學習中文，我更能夠了解這個華人他們的文化，他們的，然後我更了解，我也更愛。
文強學校嘅100年歷程係華裔喺本地頑強奮鬥嘅縮影，更加係多元文化交融嘅象徵。
I think it is important because multiculturalism is official Canadian government policy. However, with multiculturalism, we should take pride of where we came from. That is different ethnic groups and cultures. However, once you come to become Canadians, then there is a responsibility to introduce our culture for the sake of multiculturalism, so they could understand how we think and what our origins are. But together, what we would unite to form one nation. In other words, to find what is the national glue that will apply to all Canadians.
好啦，今集嘅節目時間又差唔多啦。咁如果觀眾對我哋嘅節目有啲乜嘢意見嘅話，係好歡迎大家以電郵嘅方式同我哋聯絡㗎。如果觀眾想上網重溫今集嘅節目，亦都可以上到去我哋嘅網站，點擊節目重溫一欄。下星期同樣時間再同大家見面，晚安。